really good. Yeah, I'm good.
I wanted to start by sharing something that went really well this week. I know I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks, so I wanted to start by just sharing a highlight in your week this past week.
Yeah, I noticed the kids have been doing so much better at getting in the classroom and just getting started. I didn't have to give any redirections today during the do first. That just felt like a big win.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't had any cancellations, so my schedule's been really great, and I got to sit in on a classroom yesterday at one of my other campuses and work with a student one-on-one, and just like my joy is teaching, and so sometimes I do a lot of watching, but I got to do a little bit of teaching with them, and so that just filled me with some joy.
Yeah.
But let's dive in. Let's use this time. So during our post-observation, kind of really similar to our others, I want to share the things that you did really well. I want to share your glows, and then take some time to actually practice on your priority skill. I know I sent you that feedback in advance, and so let's dig into it. Of course.
Yeah.
So I'll start with your glow. I'll start with what went really well. I noticed in yesterday's class you were interacting really positively with your students. It was evident that you had spent time building relationships because I heard you referencing specific things that the kids were doing in their clubs and in their sports, and you were able to leverage those relationships and those partnerships and the things that you knew about students to get them back into practice when you were redirecting students. And so I want you to continue to build that classroom climate and continue to build those relationships with students, because ultimately it's leading to you being able to harness the relationships and leverage them to get students back on task and to move your class more urgently. And I know it seems silly to think through the fact that relationships can actually make your class better and help students learn more, but really I saw evidence of that happening in yesterday's class. So I wanted to share that because I know that was a focus for you, was to build more relationships with Raymond, and you were talking to Raymond a lot. You were talking to him about his basketball game, and I think that
basketball game. Yeah,
he was on task throughout the entire class, and so there was growth there, and I wanted to share that with you and celebrate that. But I wanted to take a step back and just think I saw evidence that your classroom culture was improving, but I want to know, in your opinion, what is your overall vision for classroom culture?
I just want to make sure that the kids feel safe and that they are interacting with each other positively and that they feel like they can take risks academically with each other and in a whole group setting.
Okay. When you say feel safe, what does that look like? How will I walk in and see that kids feel safe? What do you think that...
I think they're asking questions, they're working together, they're asking each other questions, volunteering, even if they're not sure that they get the answers right.
So when I think through all of your vision for classroom culture, and I think about all those elements, it actually, to me, when I think about your grow is really going to help you get to that piece of classroom culture that you want to be, where kids feel safe, where kids are learning and engaging with each other. And so let's actually look at your grow together really quick. And so I noticed that in your class today, you were quickly moving between activities while giving instructions to students on what they should be doing. When you release them to write down definitions and when you release them to annotate with partners, your expectations, it didn't include everything behaviorally that they should be doing. You were really clear academically what you wanted them to do, but what that led to was some students were walking around, or some students were working off in the back, some students were talking while you were talking. And you didn't then reinforce or redirect those students. And this led to those activities, both the annotation activity and the definition activity, taking a lot longer than you originally had planned. The transitions between both of them took, I had my stopwatch out, they took 2 minutes for all students to get started. And during that time, there were a lot of off-topic conversations. I counted 3 at 3 different tables. So ultimately, because you weren't giving clear behavioral directions to students, just academic, it was leading to a waste of classroom time. Time that could be spent learning, or could be spent giving feedback to kids, or could be spent reviewing any of these things, but instead it was just spent moving between tables. So to me, when I was thinking what is the focus really is on improving the clarity of your expectations for students, which will increase the urgency of those transitions. I think we can do that by utilizing those really clear and specific reinforcements, redirections, and expectations that we covered during pre-service. And so I want to go back to those elements because I know it's the very first things we learn about. But if it's okay, like, I'd love to coach you on that if that's okay. So I want to start by just thinking, like, why for you is it important for kids to be able to move quickly between activities in your class?
Well, I've noticed that we haven't been getting through the lessons recently. It seems like we're always like having to finish the next day, and so I'm getting kind of behind in my unit plan.
How does that make you feel to be behind?
I'm like very stressed out. Yeah, like stressed out because I know the unit exam's coming and we have to have our test turned in by a certain time, so I just feel a little bit behind. Yeah.
I don't want you to feel behind, and I don't want you to feel stressed. And if we get behind for reasons that, like, because we need to spiral or review, I understand that, but I don't want you to be behind because we just couldn't get through everything. And so let's hopefully alleviate some of that stress by practicing this skill. And so let's actually, I thought through, like, what does it look like to have clear transitions? What does it look like to have clear expectations? And I broke it down first by just bringing up these definitions again, because I'm going to use some, like, teacher talk, and it's teacher talk you may hear your evaluator use as well. And so I wanted to just, like, give you these definitions. The first one was on proactive expectations. You hear that a lot. Give proactive expectations, be proactive about it. And so really what I mean by that, and I put the definition here in your folder as well, it's specific, succinct directions for what students should be doing and how they should be doing it. So we're thinking about the what and the how. You yesterday were giving a lot of the what, but not a lot of the how. And so we're going to focus on the how today. We use that MVPT structure, if you remember. Do you remember what it stands for?
Movement, volume, participation, and time.
Yep, you're exactly right. I will never forget MVPT because when I was first teaching, my coach told me to do an MVP. It wasn't T back then, it was just MVP. And instead of giving clear expectations, I named which kid was the MVP of my class. And it was really embarrassing for me, but then my coach pulled me back and told me, and now I'll never forget MVPT. So hopefully if you remember my story of being embarrassed, you'll never forget MVPT.
I'm never gonna forget that.
The next one is reinforcements. When we talk about reinforcements, we're specifically today going to talk about those positive narrations. I know it was awkward, but it was just naming the things that students are doing that are on task. It's like, remember, Rebecca is writing in her notebook silently. David is silently moving to his table. We're going to focus on both of those, the what for MVPT and those reinforcements.
Okay.
So you'll see that I wrote out a criteria for success similar to our others. The first thing that you're always going to do before giving expectations is make sure you have everyone's attention. You never want to talk over students because it creates that culture where voice doesn't matter. Both your student's voice doesn't matter and yours doesn't. So we'll use our attention getter. I know you have your clap. Then we're going to use MVPT to script out those expectations. I'm actually going to ask you for your transitions to be scripted in your lesson plan because you just named that that's a priority for you, so you won't feel stressed. From there, after you give your MVPT expectations, you are going to give students a cue to begin. For me, it's just go or start. And then you are going to use 2 to 3 positive narrations. Okay. So again, our CFS, attention getter, MVPT, cue to start, positive narrations. Which of these do you think will be the most difficult to remember in the moment, based on kind of your own experience?
I often forget what the participation output looks like.
Yeah. So what is the participation output?
Well, I don't know, sometimes I forget.
Let's look back at our notes real quick. So our participation output is going to be what you are expecting students to do academically. So let's actually go in. I'm going to show you what this looks like. I wrote myself a model because I know if I were to just stand up and pretend to do this, I might not forget all of them. But here's what I want you to do. Use that CFS. You have a pen in hand?
Yes.
As I am doing my model of this skill, I want you to check off when I do each of those things. When I do an attention getter, put a check. When I do MVPT, do a check. I might. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you asking? Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. I'm gonna jump into my. I'm out of David. I'm Mr. Sombrano.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There you go. You got it. Okay. Pencils are down in 3. Eyes on me in 2. Voices are off in 1. When I say go, you will turn to your elbow partner and share your answers to questions 1 and 2 at a voice level 1. You will have 3 minutes to share, and I will ask 4 students to share what their partner said at the end of this time. Again, you are sharing your partner with your partner for 3 minutes and go. Mia is sharing her answer number 1 at a voice level 1. Sarah is sharing at a voice level 1. And Lucy is sharing her answer number 2 with her partner at a voice level 1. All right, and see. Okay, what'd you see?
I saw you use your clapping attention getter. You held out for 100% by using 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
You stated that they should turn to their elbow partner. Their voice should be at a level 1, so that's the voice. That they should share answers 2 and 3 questions.
1 and 2.
1 and 2. And that they have 3 minutes to do it. Then you also included ready, begin, and you positively narrated specifically which questions the students were doing as reinforcement.
Yeah. Did I use all my CFS?
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes?
I think so. You named that I used
did,
my
you
attention
said
getter,
that.
right? MVPT, the cue to begin,
Mm-hmm.
and those narrations.
Okay.
So, now that you've seen it, now that you're able to use your CFS,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ask you to get up and do it.
Mm.
I'm gonna give you 2 scenarios here. I want you to start with the same scenario I did first,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna give you a different scenario, but let's worry about the same scenario. So same scenario, this time I just want you to bring students back together. Let's say that they were working independently, and you want them now to do a parent share and share their answers together. I'm gonna give you about maybe a minute to just plan out what you would say, use MVPT,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna ask you to stand up and do it.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right.
A little nervous.
It's okay. It's okay. No one's around. It's just me and you.
Just you and me.
And remember,
No one's watching.
I'd rather you practice this here with me than make another mistake in class and be off pace.
Got it.
Okay. I'm gonna name. I might interrupt you if I see that I want you to go back through, and I'm gonna use the CFS, and I might interrupt you.
All right, if you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. I want eyes up here in 3, 2, and 1. All right, I have everyone's eyes. Now, for the next 2 minutes, you're going to turn to your elbow partner and you are going to share the answer to question 2. I'm gonna circulate and then I'm going to check for answers. Ready? Go.
I'm gonna pause you there.
Oh,
No, no.
okay.
That was great.
Okay.
The one thing I heard movement, turn to your partners.
Mhm.
I heard participation, they're sharing their answer.
Mhm.
I heard time.
Mhm.
We're missing that voice level.
Oh.
What is the voice level they're
Yeah.
doing it?
Mhm.
Let's try again.
Okay.
You can just start with when I say go.
When I say go, you're going to turn to your elbow partners and complete question 2 at a level 1 voice. You have 2 minutes to do this. I'm going to circulate and then call on someone. Ready? Go. All right, I see Antonio working on number 2. I see Belinda and Becky sharing their answers. Great job.
I'm gonna ask you to do the narrations again. You did an excellent job with MVPT. This time though, when you were narrating, I only heard you narrating the thing, the participation. I see Becky doing this. If voice has been a concern, I want you also to name that. I see Becky is working at a voice level 1 on question 2. So you can vary the things that you're narrating based on the MVPT. So say ready, go, and then I want you to hear you narrating different elements of MVPT.
Okay. Ready, go. All right, I see Antonio is talking at a level 1 voice with his elbow partner. I see Becky and Belinda are sharing their answers to question number 2.
And C. How'd that feel? Sit down. We can sit down.
Feel good. I feel better.
If you were to have given expectations like that in yesterday's class, what impact do you think it would have had?
I think they would have gotten started more quickly, and I think I would have been able to check more student work because I wouldn't have been so worried about who was starting.
Thinking about, back to one of the students you built a relationship, think about Raymond. How would those clear proactive expectations, how would they help Raymond?
I think he would feel more confident in getting started, and he would have, I think like his other people around him would know expectations as well, and so that could help him look around and say, oh, they're doing this, like that can help me do this. So more people are on task and will help him, I think.
Did you have to take some time and plan that out first?
Yeah, and I think I could have done it a little bit more, but I definitely felt more confident after I had scripted it out rather than just winging it.
Yeah. So I think as we're thinking through, before we jump into this next scenario, I just want to name, like, it's important to plan these pieces out, especially for really big and transitions that can look messy. So as you're looking through your lesson plan, thinking through when are kids moving and when are kids transitioning, when do I need the time to be really tight and urgent? So let's actually jump into our second scenario where students are going to be reading and answering questions. I know there's now multiple things and they're going to be doing it on their own. So I want us to think through, kids have already been discussing, and now I want to bring them back together and have them work independently, reading and then answering questions from their books. So I'll give you, because it's a little bit bigger, I'll give you 2 minutes this time to script this out. So you've practiced this multiple times. I think you've done it really well in front of me.
Oh, thanks.
But now we need to do it in front of students. How confident do you feel after going and planning for tomorrow, enacting proactive expectations in front of students tomorrow?
Yeah, I think I'll need to just look over it maybe 1 or 2 more times, but I feel like I can see what those transitions should look like, which I think is going to help me say what they should look like, which will help the students.
What are you going to do to remind yourself to use proactive expectations?
I'm probably going to need some sort of like visual, either like on my PowerPoint or next to my doc cam to remind me to like use MVPT, or just whenever we're transitioning, just as a reminder for myself.
I love that.
Yeah.
For me, sometimes I even just put like a little symbol on my PowerPoint, and the kids didn't even know what it meant, but it was a signal to me to say, hey, this is an urgent transition. Look back at my notes. And I wanted to name, it's totally okay if you need to look back at your notes while you're teaching. You don't want to teach from your clipboard, but if you need to reference those notes, that's totally okay. What might be challenging about this? Because I think I want to name, like, this might be hard.
Yeah, I've noticed that I forget like to state, like I did earlier, the volume, because the kids don't always know what that means or sounds like away. So I think that we'll just need to keep working on like what the volume levels mean and sound like.
I would love to give you feedback on this, but I know that I won't be back in your classroom for a little while. Are you okay if I share that this is a priority with your evaluator? Because I know that Miss Salinas is coming tomorrow. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's actually talk through like what are our next steps together. For you, what, coming out of this conversation, what should you keep doing? Going back and thinking about that like glow.
Keep building relationships with students and like connecting with them outside of class, so that I can use those relationships in class to keep them engaged in the work.
Awesome. Anything else you should keep doing?
Just try my best.
I love that. Yep. Keep planning. What do you want to start doing or start doing better?
I'm gonna make sure that I'm scripting my transitions consistently, and I like the idea of the symbol on the PowerPoint. I'm gonna use that.
Now, the next time I'm in your class, I'm definitely gonna be looking for this. Is there anything else you want me to focus on or support you with the next time I'm here in your classroom?
I feel like they haven't been as engaged during my teacher models. And so I find myself having to explain things a couple times, so maybe something around that.
Yeah, absolutely. I did have one reminder for you. Your IDS is next week, and so
Yeah.
make sure that you're there. It's on the 14th.
Got it.
And remember that your PPR test, you need to complete your practice before the end of the month if you want to be able to register for that PPR test
Okay.
and hit all your certification markers.
All right.
So
Will do.
that's all that I have for you. Thank you so much, Rebecca,
Thank
for
you
meeting
so
with
much,
me.
David.
Is
You're
there
the
anything I
best
can do to
coach
help
ever.
you get ready for the next class that's coming in?
Can you clean up my whole room?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I got some time.